I don't bury hatchets. I sharpen them.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Frankenstein's podcast, where it's all about the monster. We're a creature feature podcast about monsters and why we love them. I'm one of your hosts, Joe Praska, and with me, as always, is
your other host, Khalid Hussein.
What's up, Khalid Hussein?
What's up, Joe Praska?
I don't know.
We're doing government names now?
Well, you said your whole name, so.
Yeah, that's how I always do it.
That's true. How's it going?
I'm good. Had my birthday yesterday. It was a rip-roaring time.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. And today was just kind of keeping it quiet and chill and embracing 36.
Yeah. You feeling it today, or are you feeling good?
Yes and no. I felt it in the morning, not so much now.
Yeah. Once you cross 35, I think it starts to hurt when you get out of chairs.
It just starts to hurt. You know, you don't even need to qualify. It just hurts.
just all around.
Yeah, I think that's what Johnny Cash was singing about in the song "Hurt."
That's 100% true. I read that as a trivia piece.
Yeah, he was like, "I turned 35 and everything hurts."
Well, I'm excited to be here chatting monsters. Before we dig into anything, I do want to give a little announcement to the listeners. This is going to be our last episode for a little while. Should have maybe not led with last right away, but just for a little while. We're taking a little break. We'll be back in a couple months, probably early 2026, maybe sometime in February or March. But we're going to take a little break for the holidays.
We're tired. I'll let you reference the 35 again, over 35. Everything hurts and we're tired. So we need a little break.
Exactly. But we'll be back. We won't be gone for long. We're just regrouping, getting some new plans in order, and coming back better and bigger than ever. Bigger, especially.
It's gonna be so big. You won't even believe your eyes.
So big. But you know what I'm excited for, Khalid?
What?
We got a very special guest with us today.
That we do.
Joining us today is Lorrie Johnson. Lorrie is a longtime, I'd say friend of the podcast, but I might actually go a little further and say family member of the podcast. Lorrie, you've had a lot of connections to here. Your sister is Nicole, our often guest host as well as your husband Luke has been on the podcast before talking Star Wars with us, who is also a patron. So it's been long overdue. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited. This is also my first podcast.
It's podcasting debut, some might say.
Yes.
Yeah. It's going to be a good time. Yeah. How are you feeling?
A little nervous.
Oh, it's going to be great.
But I'm excited to share.
I bet you will. Yeah. And you kind of brought this one. So I'm excited to talk about this show that we're going to get into in a little bit here, because I don't think I would have watched it otherwise. And I'm really glad I did. And we'll talk about that. But before we do, every new guest to the podcast has to answer a couple guest questions. Are you ready?
I am ready.
Okay, so this first one's twofold. What is your favorite monster in all of pop culture? It could be anything, like books, movies, TV shows, games. And if it's not the same, what would you consider to be the scariest that you've encountered?
Yeah. So they're definitely different.
Okay.
I find that my favorite creature, I wouldn't call him a monster, because he's the lovable Wookiee from Star Wars, Chewbacca.
Great choice.
He's such a gentle giant. Strong. He provides a lot of comic relief in the films.
Mm-hmm.
And it's expressive. He's loyal to his friends. Yeah, there's nothing that you can't not like about him.
Chewie. Great choice. So he's definitely not the scariest. I mean, he can be scary when he, like, so if you beat him in a game, I suppose. But
True.
Yeah. What's your scariest then?
It's the monster from A Quiet Place series.
Oh, yes. Very scary. That gotcha?
Yes. I watched all the films in the theater with our friends and, of course, Luke. I think the first film, I didn't eat my popcorn through the whole film. The fact that the sound can be so dangerous, and that is what attracts them, you just don't have an advantage.
Yeah.
And they're alien-like. They're pretty indestructible.
Mhm.
So it's just, yeah, there's a fear. I think I went home and I did not sleep that night.
It's a good one. I mean, they're also like beastly too. So like, there's no like, oh, maybe I could reason with them. Like that's just out of the question completely too.
Yeah.
The thing that scared me about them was that like they like hate noise because they're basically like just one giant ear. So like when they would just like hear noise and then like whether it's a person or a machine or anything, they're just stamping it out. Like that's what's like super scary too. It's not like for food or anything like that. You're just like that annoying to them.
Yeah.
All right. And second question for you. What would you consider yourself to be most geeky about, or what is on your geek card?
I am your typical big fan of worlds like Harry Potter and The Lord of the Rings. They're more than just fantasy. I think they're wholesome and adventurous. I like that they explore themes like friendship, love, and showing up for each other, which is probably why I enjoyed watching Wednesday. I also geeked out over something different than like a regular fandom. I love food. I'm a foodie. I'm bougie about my food. You can ask Luke. I studied nutrition in college. I work at a hospital helping patients with their therapeutic diets. I cook and bake for my loved ones. I find it to be a love language. Just, food is life for me.
Yeah, well said. What did we spend today doing? What did you spend today doing, I should say?
We baked Christmas cookies.
Yeah.
Nice.
And you get to enjoy them now, though.
Yeah, I will attest they are very tasty. They're very tasty.
Thank you.
That's a really good one. I like that. Food, yeah. And Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, the Fantasy Worlds, French. Great answer. Great answer. So anyway, thank you, Lorrie, for answering all those questions. It was a nice way to kind of get to know you and get a feel for your vibe with like monstery stuff, because I'm excited to get to this main discussion. Before we do that, Khalid, I do have a question for you.
What?
Khalid, why was Sunday and Saturday stronger than Wednesday?
Why was Sunday? Oh, wait. Why was Sunday and Saturday stronger
than Wednesday?
Because I don't know, something to do with the weekend, like weekend.
Because Wednesday is a weekday.
That's yeah. Okay, I was stuck on weekend. Yeah, okay.
Lorrie liked that one.
See, we told you we would quiz you, Khalid.
All right. Well, I'm kind of happy I failed that one.
Yeah. Khalid, did you know that Thing, the hand in the Addams Family, did not get his start as an actor?
Was he a hand model?
No, he got his start as a stagehand.
And
that's a segue, Khalid. What are we talking about today?
Thanks, Joe. Today we're talking about the 2022 television or Netflix streaming series Wednesday, created by Alfred Gough and Miles Millar. And I've got a synopsis from your homeboy Khalid, me. It goes a little something like this. Wednesday Addams lives for the spooky, the ooky, and everything in between. When her parents ship her off to Hogwarts, Nevermore Academy, a school for magical outcasts, it's up to Wednesday and her ragtag friends to take down a mysterious killer, which is doable because they only attend one class a year.
What a monster.
They're creatures of the abstract that live off potential energy.
It's alive!
Nice one, Khalid. I like the Freudian slip of the almost saying television series, even though it's a Netflix series. Kind of the same, but kind of different. I don't know. All right, before we dig into some thoughts, I actually have a little background for this. I'm going to be honest. My background with the Addams Family in general was not very strong. I don't know much about them, so I did some research into where they kind of came from. So you guys might already know this, but I didn't realize. So the Addams Family was created by a dude by the name of Charles Addams, same spelling. And they originally appeared in a series of like 150 some like single panel comics, mostly in the New Yorker between the years 1938 and 1988. But the series, of course, the 1960s TV show ran for only 2 seasons, even though I like to think it's more iconic. However, after that, there was like animated series, comics, like there were cameos in like Scooby-Doo. And then, of course, the 90s films that came, the Addams Family and Addams Family Values, that kind of, I think, really catapulted them back into the limelight a bit. But since then, there's been more animated series, films, video games, comics. There's even a Broadway musical. In fun fact, though, in that whole journey of like where the Addams Family came from, the Addams, the creator, briefly collaborated with science fiction writer Ray Bradbury, which he planned an illustrated book about a supernatural family named the Elliots, which was similar to the Addams Family. They ended up not doing it at first because they couldn't find a publisher, but they were recovered and published in a series called From the Dust to Return in 2001. So I kind of want to check that out, actually. Yeah, kind of a cool collab, Addams and Ray Bradbury.
Yeah.
But anyway, Wednesday, we're going to talk about Wednesday specifically, which is kind of the latest iteration we have of the Addams Family. I have some background about the show, but I'll get into that in a minute. But I want to just start with some basic, like, just initial thoughts of like this show. So Lorrie, you were the one who kind of brought this one to us, and like you watched it from what I heard, and you were like, "Oh, I feel ready to like podcast after watching this." So, tell me some of your thoughts. Like, what was going through your mind when you were watching it?
Like you, I also did not grow up watching the Addams Family. I needed a show to watch while I was at home on maternity leave, and it was early fall, so I picked this one because it had some fall vibes.
Yeah.
I'm also a huge fan of Jenna Ortega. She's one of my favorite actresses. I think of her as today's Christina Ricci. So that was also why I was kind of like leaning towards that show. I definitely found it to be eccentric with mild horror and a little murder mystery all tied into the show. I really enjoyed it. I think I like Tim Burton and Danny Elfman. They're both very well known and classic to this genre. I just really enjoyed watching something new that I felt like it was definitely young adult, but it had themes that I think I keep going back to, which is why I enjoy those kind of shows.
Yeah, it's definitely got a strong YA vibe. It has like a bite to it, I would say too. Like it's not afraid to kind of get dark, which is kind of cool. Yeah. Were you surprised how much you ended up liking it?
Yes. Like I said, I love Jenna Ortega, so I knew I would probably like the show and her character, but having Christina Ricci in the show and falling in love with other characters, I was kind of surprised.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of a surprise too. I think so. I feel like there's this idea in my head that Tim Burton was involved in the 90s movies, which he actually wasn't. He was approached to direct them, but he didn't do them. But he's like, I mean, his stamp is all over this show for sure. Like it's a very much a Tim Burton aesthetic, and the Danny Elfman collab, they are together a lot, which is really fun. I actually read that Tim Burton was saying he was like felt creatively drained after making Dumbo with Disney. But when he was approached by the showrunners to do this, he kind of like reconnected him with his love of filmmaking. So he's kind of like came back out of a rut, which I mean, I know Dumbo wasn't really well received, but it sounds like it does feel a little bit in a sense like a return to form to like earlier Tim Burton, I would say. I don't know if you guys felt the same. But
Yeah,
Khalid,
definitely.
What did you think? Yeah.
I really dug it. I'd seen Wednesday the series before you told me we were going to do it for the pod, or at least I'd seen season 1. I hadn't caught season 2 yet. So I went back and rewatched it, and I took note, especially of the Burton directed episodes in the series. And yeah, you can really tell like exactly what she said. It feels like he's reconnecting with a part of himself that he maybe lost along the way. And I think a big part of that is what a stellar lead he has with Jenna Ortega. She is just so great. And I think it's interesting, actually. This is the first time I have had like a childhood relationship with a piece of media that you haven't. So like I was a big fan of the Addams Family films. I don't really know about the comic strip or the black and white TV series, but the two Barry Sonnenfeld films, like they were just always on, and so I caught it all the time. And I think what really drew me to it is that it's really easy to like see the Addams Family as an immigrant allegory in those films.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's like a a deeply like culturally rooted eccentricity with that family. And obviously their culture is like Hot Topic, like Halloween kind of thing. But like it's not hard to like understand what the metaphor is trying to get across, that like America is really big on sanding down the edges of cultures and trying to make like a monoculture that's really just based around consumption. So when you've got people that like are happily not interested in that and will just like not hear any objections or complaints about the way they choose to live their life, like that just reminds me of like my community growing up in my family. And so I had like a real special place in my heart for the Addams Family, or at least a fondness for them, that not unlike a lot of people, I was worried when they said that like they were going to do like a Wednesday series that was going to be kind of like a YA murder thing. And it was just like, this feels like one of those, the algorithm demands it kind of shows, and not like somebody out there is like, I need to make this. And so I went into it very skeptical, but yeah, I mean, between casting Jenna Ortega, Tim Burton's involvement, Danny Elfman's amazing score, and just like the rest of the cast surrounding Ortega really like came to play, you know, especially shout out Enid. It endeared me. It took a few episodes, but I really came into it endeared, and then season 2 just ran away with it, and it feels a little bit more episodic and zany and like scattered than the first season, but I think I like that better because it reminds me of like the TV shows of yore, where like there were like meandering episodes, or spoiler for you, Joe, body switching episodes, you know, where it's like, you know, it's like it's just a fun thing for the actors to do, and it really just like it speaks to an understanding of like, why have a show where everybody can do magic and crazy stuff can happen, and we're just like committed to this like track of like, we started here, we have to get here, and everything in between needs to contribute to that. And it's like, no, just do like a random body switching episode if you can. That's fun. So yeah, circling back to the initial question, I was a skeptic turn huge fan of the series, and I'm excited to talk more in detail about it and hear what you guys liked about it.
Yeah.
Joe, did you already give your thoughts? I can't remember.
I gave like a brief overview. I mean, like I agree with both you guys. Like Jenna Ortega is great in this. Enid rules. Shout out Enid. I like I said, like I didn't have a relationship with Addams Family. My family had like the Munsters on all the time when I was a kid, which for some reason I like saw them in competition in some way when I was younger, and I was just like I didn't have interest in the Addams Family. But like having watched this and like having like a passing knowledge of the films, I have seen them. Like I do appreciate like the bite that they have. Like you're kind of talking about like the immigrant story, which I thought is kind of pronounced, and I do really like that element. But I also just love like the sort of like condemnation of like pilgrims and like colonialism. Like that was in the old movie too. Like, yeah. But it's like alive and well in this one in a lot of ways, and I do really love that. Like it's kind of a good Thanksgiving like show in that sense. A great Halloween show, great Thanksgiving show. Like you watch it all fall. I mean, it's also, I mean, I also say like I watched it in the December here. Like it's just also kind of like a cozy, almost like a cozy like a horror-ish thing. You know, like I don't know if horror even is the right label for it, but kind of like a, like I've used this term before. I got it from the author Charlie Jane Anders, but sweet weird, where something's just like it's very weird, but it's also like kind of sweet and endearing at the same time. And I think like this show kind of has that element to it, which I greatly appreciate. So no, I really loved it. I definitely grew up in that. I think Lorrie, you remember like when we went to high school and stuff together, like that Tim Burton era, like was Tim Burton was like an identity in and of himself, a sense, like the Hot Topic era, like
Yes.
yeah, like the Corpse Bride, Sleepy Hollow, like Sweeney Todd, like those classic, those we grew up with those ones, and it's kind of like this was nostalgic, but it also felt fresh in a lot of ways. There's a lot of cool vibes to it. So yeah, it's great. What did we shouted out Enid. Enid rules. Really loved when she got to like wolf out. That was great. Favorite characters? I'd love to hear, because there's such an eclectic group of characters in this show. Did you guys have any ones that like stand out to you?
Yeah, I it's tough because you haven't seen season 2, but Wednesday's brother Pugsley, in season 2, he really steps up more prominently, and he feels like, I would say between him and Gomez, like they like what's the actor's name that played Gomez in this?
Luis Guzman. Thank you.
They both feel like they're the most like carried over from the films, the Sonnenfeld films, of like Wednesday's whole thing is like if she smiles, she'll like have a heart attack or something, you know. But like, and I get it, you know, it works as like her thing, but like that was never the Addams Family for me. Was just like people like dour and stuff. It's like they genuinely like smile and are full of glee. Like they probably smile more than other like regular in quotes families, you know, like they're laughing, they're joyous, they're jubilant. And so having an anchor like Wednesday is important, especially when you're trying to like go through a mystery in season 1. But I think that it's just so much more enjoyable having a character like Pugsley, her brother, in season 2, who's just like, he's eager to make friends at school. He really has like so much joy in eating like gross things and like torturing things and stuff. And not that Wednesday doesn't have her things that she enjoys in the series. It's just that by virtue of her character, you can't really share in that enjoyment with her. So I think Pugsley was like such a great addition, and like felt like the most of honoring of the original films.
Interesting. Well said. How about you, Lori?
I love Enid. I think she's the most adorable character and has a lot of growth. I adored their friendship, her and Wednesday.
Yeah.
I also really shout out to Eugene. I think he was a little shy fellow in the beginning, and he ended up. What I like about Wednesday and her friends is that she brings out more in them. Like Eugene he like at the end of the series, he stood up to his mom to go fight with Wednesday. Even though Wednesday probably wasn't the greatest, she's a great friend, but she blindsided Enid a few times. But I think that helped Enid build confidence in herself and who she was, and I think that helped her wolf out in the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, love Enid. Shout out to Eugene. I think Enid brings a lot of color to Wednesday's world.
Literally.
I think I resonate with that. I am not the type of person who wears all black and has that like dark academia vibe. But yeah.
Here's my question, because speaking of like I agree what they do with Enid and Wednesday, and like the fact that they're besties but like couldn't be more different. I love that the production design really reflects that in their dorm, or you know, like
the window is so cool.
It's an iconic image, you know, and it's so cool. My question is, did Wicked copy them or did Wednesday copy Wicked? Because I saw Wicked and I was like, this feels familiar.
Well, I guess to be fair, Wicked was a play for a long time and a book too.
Yeah, I guess I'm just like speaking to the production design choice of how they made the rooms. Yeah,
that's a really interesting question. I don't know. It could have been one of those cases where like those, you know, like those like parallel movies come out, like The Illusionist and Prestige.
Yeah,
like it could have been like that. Like we're just like those ideas were kind of like flourishing at this time, and they're like, we gotta like, you know, kind of odd couple roomies to become besties.
I suppose neither of them invented the concept of just like
True.
designing your half of the room how you want.
Yeah, that's been around.
Yeah,
But it
that's
is
fair.
interesting. It is striking. There are two like really like visually colorful and kind of oppositely not like color is a big part of both of those things. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's an interesting point. Yeah. But yeah.
Yeah.
Also, Lorrie, I agree with you. Eugene was awesome. He was like kind of an MVP. I loved I was thinking about it for a while, like during the show. I was like, oh yeah, he's kind of like, I feel like she thinks of him like Pugsley, and then she actually says it in the show, and she was like, you remind me of my brother. And I was like, that totally works. Like that was just kind of a well done like friendship development there too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
More people in her family act like Enid than they do Wednesday. Nobody else except Lurch. Like
we need more Lurch.
who may be an undead Frankenstein. Like that's like who she has the most in common with in her family. Like that's what I feel like so that can get kind of lost in the show because it spends so much time at the school that like what was always interesting to me is like how do you not fit in the family of outcasts? That's what's interesting.
That is very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I gotta shout out Thing. I think Thing was actually my favorite overall.
Thing ruled.
Like I just like I'm struck by how much development and like care they like how much they made you care about this hand. Like it was just like how do they give him so much emotion? Like I was genuinely distraught when I was like they might kill Thing. I don't know. Like when he got stabbed.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like that was heartbreaking. And like I also love like his little weird friendship that he had with Enid too, like how Thing and Enid became buddies, like moisturizing tips, and like you notice like I don't know if you noticed like Thing started wearing like nail polish like about halfway through the show too. Like that was a really cool touch.
Well, they did a lot of cool design stuff with Thing this time around, which like I will say Thing is like a major upgrade from the movies. I love the stitches, the implication that like even though he's just a hand, even that was like took Herculean efforts to put together.
Yeah, that's a really great point.
And it's got like tattoos or something on him. Like it's just a very like it's just a hand, and they really make the most of like trying to give you an idea of the personality controlling the hand.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and they did a really good job with that.
Yeah.
Do you guys so like of the plot? Let's talk about season 1 specifically. So season 1 is kind of like it's definitely like a murder mystery plot. There's like of course like YA school like magical school tropes like that kind of go back long like years. Like there's Harry Potter is definitely a strong comparison. You mentioned the Hogwarts bit, but like kind of goes back to like I think Le Guin with like the Earthsea like schools, like any magical school, like you kind of find similar tropes in, and those are definitely on display here. But I think like the murder mystery piece is definitely kind of like a unique element to this. What did you guys think of that overall like plot thread, and were there any like pieces that you kind of like called or saw coming? Lorrie, I think you have thoughts on this one, don't you? Right?
What was the question again specifically?
When you were watching, like, did you predict any of the mysteries, or did anyone watching with you predict them?
I had a hard time figuring out the murder mystery part. Am I allowed to say spoilers?
You go for it. Yeah, spoil all you want.
I first watched this again, like I said, when I was nursing over the summer or early fall, and then I loved it so much that I wanted Luke to see it. So we watched it together. Also, for me to take some more notes because I wanted to do the podcast.
You'd already decided. Awesome.
In the first episode, Luke said, "Oh, it's the coffee shop boyfriend." And I was like, I didn't want to like tell him he was right, but I was so upset that he figured it out in the first episode. I was like, how do you already know? Like, I don't understand. Maybe he's used to watching more of murder mystery shows. I don't know. We both are huge fans of Tim Burton. So I was like, you can't have figured that out so easily, but whatever. He did. But no, for the longest time, I thought the therapist was behind it.
I thought that too, actually, yeah.
So I was a little shocked at the end. Yeah.
Yeah, well, so like, yes, as you mentioned, spoilers definitely are abound in this episode. So if you haven't watched Wednesday and you're interested, definitely go watch it. But so we find the reveal is that we find out that Thornhill, played by Christina Ricci, is Thornhill, right? Or Thornhill?
Thornhill.
Yeah, Thornhill. She's the one kind of pulling the strings. She was part of a family who was anti-outcast, which is kind of the race of beings that don't fit into society in this universe. But she's the one who kind of orchestrated this whole murder mystery plot to try to like take out resurrect this evil pilgrim and destroy the school. So I also kind of suspected the therapist a little bit too, because I feel like in the portrait of that family, like it was a little blonde girl, and I was like, oh, she's an older, like, I guess that's just maybe like a prejudice I have against blonde people. I don't know, but like, I guess I don't know what that was about, but like, anyway, like I thought it was her too, but the idea, but ultimately, like thinking back on it, like I was like, they did have Christina Ricci, which is kind of a stunt cast, like because she played Wednesday in the old movies, and I was like, they have to have her for something bigger than just kind of like assistant teacher dorm mistress lady, right? So like I like ultimately, like when I thought back, I was like, okay, that does make sense that she gets the meaty piece at the end. But yeah, they did a good job, I think, hiding the twists a lot. But yeah, coffee shop boyfriend, that's so funny. I kind of suspected him too. But I mean, I feel like they had you going back and forth between him and Xavier, the other character, like who it is, like, but I do feel like they did start pressing like hard on like her suspecting Xavier. So earlier in the show, it's like, but it's not him because the signs are pointing to him at this point. But I think they did a good job hiding Tyler's the character, hiding his twist a little bit when he gets like scratched at the house in that one sequence. Like, that was clever, and even Wednesday points out that was clever that he scratched himself. Like, but like that episode was kind of such a manic, like lots of things were going on, relationships were being broken and tested, like in all sorts of different which ways. So like there are elements where if you like think about it like a little more deeply, like, oh, like why didn't the monster? Like I was actually talking with Luca, but like you're saying, like with Luca about this, like earlier today, I was like, he said, why didn't the monster like do more than just scratch him? You know, like if you think about it more, like. So it does kind of make sense, but it was just clever, I think, hidden under all those other like threads that were going on. But yeah, what about you, Khalid?
I'll be honest, I usually don't try to guess the mystery in a mystery show or a movie. I'm kind of just along for the ride, especially because like there'll be red herrings, and you usually don't like. If you don't know whether or not the mystery is good at the beginning, or if you can trust the writers to like do it in an honest way either. So like, I just feel like, why spend all this time trying to like play detective when I'm watching the detective? You know, I'll figure, like, it's only 8 episodes. I'll figure it out. But that being said, I guess I was surprised that it was Tyler. Mostly because like they had done a really convincing job of making me like bored of him, and just like compared to everything else going on, you know what I mean? Like I was just like, this guy is the least interesting thing. So yeah, the mystery aspect. I think what I liked about the mystery aspect was that Jenna Ortega is so tiny. She is like she's wearing like thick soled shoes the whole time, and she's still like 6 inches shorter than the next shortest person, it feels like. So I'm just like, why is this little like, and it's so captivating watching her just confidently walk into places where like there could be a killer there, and she's by herself, and she handling business. Like that to me is like way, like that's where I was like, okay, I'm worried for her, mostly because of like her diminutive nature, even though I know she's like in story the badass, you know.
Yeah,
she's not, even with her fencing and all that stuff, she's not like doing like karate often, you know what I mean? Like when somebody wants to like grab her, she just gets grabbed usually. So it was a really cool like tension filled way to go through the mystery, I guess, more than anything.
I also thought the principal at first too, for first few episodes, because you learn that she's a shapeshifter. And I was like, ooh, I think she's in this position of power but that quickly also ended up not happening.
She was suspicious though, like the whole like Rowan, the kid who was killed in the beginning, like Rowan, that cover up, like they covered up his death, and she basically pretended to be him, like to cover it up essentially. Like that was very suspect at first too. Like, but I mean, it sounds, I mean, it was all, I mean, essentially she was playing politics rather than being the show's villain. So, but she's definitely not the cleanest of people.
Slight spoiler, she gets somewhat of a redemption in season 2. But
interesting.
I agree. If you go on season 1 alone, like she's just a bad principal. Like she's like actively like stymieing the one person that could stop more students getting murdered. Like also like, please don't, like if I get brutally murdered, please don't walk around as me the next day and like put people's minds at ease. That's so messed up.
Gotta put that in your will.
Adding it now.
Speaking of tall people though, like every scene with like Gwendolyn Christie as Principal Weems, like when she's by like Christina Ricci in particular, like she's like at her waist.
Yeah, it looks like they should do like a remake of the movie Twins.
Oh my gosh, that would be fun. That would be fun. I would watch that.
I think Christina Ricci could kill it in a DeVito role.
She would rule.
Yeah.
It just surprised me that Miss Thornhill was behind it all because she was considered normie. Which is a fun word because it reminds me of like Muggle, and I didn't think that a normie would have that much. I don't know, like that depth into the show's murder mystery.
Well, yeah, like also a commitment to doing like magic, right? Like she was like well versed in like the magic by the end of it. Like, so this was actually something that Nicole had pointed out when we were watching it here at home, is that like when Thornhill gives Wednesday the Frankenstein novel, that's when she kind of was like, I think it's Thornhill, because there was the element where the beast was stealing body parts, and we're like, there could be a Frankenstein piece with trying to get this pilgrim back to life, which there kind of was, but it wasn't like assembling, but it was like basically they needed all those pieces to like resurrect.
Yeah, like a sacrifice.
Yeah, it was kind of like a sacrifice piece. So that was a really cool clue that was sort of like in line with what was going on, but a little slight misdirect that once like retrospectively I look at that, like I was like, that's really good. I really like that. That was a fun like little bit of like narrative energy there, I guess I should say.
On the subject of the normies versus outcasts, and that's all new to the Addams Family lore. At least within the Sonnenfeld films, and I think even the show, nobody has powers that I'm aware of. So like that was
wasn't Fester able to do like lightning stuff in this old stuff too, or no?
In the movies, he gets electrocuted.
Oh, okay. Maybe that's just an homage. Okay, I see.
And then like, because he's been electrocuted so many times, he can like put like a light bulb in his mouth and like it'll turn on. Like it's a
that's right.
It's a gag though. Like basically, what I liked so much about the movies was that they weren't like, they were outcasts in that they had like eclectic tastes and stuff like that, but they were still very much just human, you know? And so like, obviously like cartoonish human, where like the children would try to kill each other every day.
Yeah.
But human nonetheless. So I was definitely like, that was one of the things that I was most resistant to at first, was giving Wednesday powers. It just felt like a hat on a hat. But obviously as the show went on, like I accepted it and like went with it for what it was. But I was wondering, like, what do you guys think about that? Giving the Addams Family powers?
I guess I didn't know.
Yeah.
That they didn't have powers in the films before. That's something new to me. I enjoyed it because I think it brought a lot of other characters. There's so many creatures in Wednesday, including the different types of outcasts, and I think they're pretty meaningful to the story. And part of the overall mystery and expressing identity to their characters, that they, you know, like the werewolves, the sirens, ghosts. I think having their magic powers helps move the show along.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, actually. I think that I was also a little reluctant to that at first. Like when we first started watching it and like they were kind of using the terms outcasts and normies in the first like 2 or 3 episodes, I was like, I'm not clear. I didn't feel like it was super clearly defined, at least for me at first, like what that meant, and that there was like an established like race of people that just had these kind of like monstrous powers, and like I guess the normies considered monstrous. But once it kind of went on, I was more and more on board with when we got kind of like the different subsections of the outcasts, like as they all kind of like got to flourish a little bit more. We got like the sirens, like Bianca. That was another interesting character we haven't mentioned before, but she's an interesting one. Kind of goes from like a bully to a friend, like kind of like an anti-Malfoy in a sense, right? Like she becomes like more helpful.
Malfoy ends the series an ally.
Yeah, I guess he does a little bit. You're right. It's kind of a Malfoy arc in a sense, yeah. But I liked I think once I was really sold on the outcast bit was when she found the journal that Uncle Fester pointed out to her, of the guy who started the school, and the idea that he was traveling the world categorizing outcasts of different like cultures and communities, and like what that kind of manifests in different parts of the world. And I was like, this just opens like a really cool like world building door to like multiple seasons of like introducing like strange creatures or different people with different powers, different like dimensions to different things. Like you could like bring in cultural elements that are super fascinating with that. And I really appreciated that. And just like, and we'll get into the Hydes in general, like they're like the idea that there's like an outcast group that even the outcasts were kind of afraid of was super fascinating. And I just think that it started like gently building, but I think like once we're there, it's a really cool like storytelling device that I think they can do a lot with.
No, that's a good point. Yeah, I guess I'm just curious, like I don't mind the magical element. I think that's a really great touch. And even like, but like they even established like Gomez doesn't have powers still in this, you know? So,
I was wondering that. Does he not? Is he nothing?
Again, season 2 goes into it a little bit more, but
okay.
It's confirmed that in the family, he at least does not have powers. And so, and they even say like, there's precedent for students not having powers that go to Nevermore. And I don't know, like there's a world, I'm like, is there a world where she's the only one without powers, but she's still just like the most badass, and like there's something impressive about that? Obviously we got the show we got, and I think that more than anything, making her a psychic helped kind of just get through this mystery a little easier for her. So I can't begrudge them any of that. I just think it's interesting. I do, pivoting a little bit, I do think that what the show and the series did really well was like kind of underscore like how whether or not you were a normie didn't necessarily mean like you're morally good. You know, they time and time again with like the bullies and everything like that. They really try the town bullies in the show.
Yeah.
They really try to show you like you could be a Medusa and still be better than these assholes, or and it just kind of harkens back to like one thing I'd rewatched the Addams Family movies recently, and one thing I didn't realize was like both movies deal heavily with the fact that like the Addams, like people are constantly like trying to con and rob the Addams family. Like that is like the main driving plot of both of those movies, and like what a target they are because they're outcasts, and so people feel less inclined to be sympathetic towards them. So I like that really made its way into the news series.
That makes sense. Yeah. I was trying to think back. Like I'm not like, I wasn't, like I said, I wasn't familiar with the old show, but like I had watched it cursory, like casually. There was like a piece, I don't know if this is in the movies at all, but there was like a monster under their stairs that they used to feed. And like they also had Cousin It, who I don't know if Cousin It is human, but
it's just a lot of hair. Like
yeah, I guess it's just a lot of hair.
That's a far cry from a psychic or a werewolf.
Fair. But there was elements, and Thing is also supernatural. Thing's got to be supernatural. Thing was in the
but that's
movies.
the only borderline supernatural thing they had, I feel like, and I like that. I like that it's, for the most part, it's an aesthetic thing. It's not we are, because now they're just the X-Men. and I don't say that to diminish it. It's just like it feels like you're just the X-Men and you have like a hot topic fetish, you know?
Yeah.
And it just as opposed to like you're an outcast solely because of your hot topic fetish.
That was a good reference, by the way, with the X-Men, like another like school with power setting. It's definitely kind of an intersection between like X-Men and Harry Potter a little bit when you see those
but like
kind
the
of
thing
things.
is like, and what I always kind of was like resistant to like Professor X and Magneto or Malcolm X and da. It's like, okay, but like there's a difference between being a black guy and a guy that can shoot a concussive laser out of your eyes. Like one of those should be probably tracked.
Yeah. Well said. Did you guys have a favorite like outcast group? Like when you're like, oh, that was super cool?
I think the Sirens are pretty cool. I think there's like a lot of interesting stuff there with like how her mom was basically a part of like this like conning traveling cult.
Oh, Bianca's mom, yeah.
Yeah, Bianca's mom, sorry.
Yeah. That was not, we didn't get much with that. That's I'm guessing that goes more into season 2, right?
Yeah. I know you're gonna stick with this, so I'm not gonna try and spoil any of it, but just to tell
really
you that a lot of the stuff that you found interesting in season 1, they really like do justice to in season 2.
Hell yeah. How about you, Lori?
I'm with Khalid. I think the Sirens. I think it was a new type of like supernatural magical power that I feel like hasn't been brought up a whole lot in other fandoms.
Yeah.
That I've seen at least. So it was a new word for me, and I think, you know, we're familiar with werewolves, we're familiar with ghosts, we're familiar with psychics,
vampires,
all of those things. So I think Sirens was a new one for me, so I like that one the most.
Sirens were cool. I will probably agree with you. I think that was really interesting, and their story was cool, especially when they like took off the amulets to like evacuate the school. That was a really fun use of their powers.
Yeah.
I will give a shout out to the Gorgons. I feel like that guy who accidentally like stoned himself in the shower was very funny.
Oh yes.
Yeah, and that's just like that was a fun like idea, just to be like these people with snake hair and can make you turn into stone. Like very like funny kind of concept that they have there. Like they're not like the most interesting, but I think they're funny. What is Eugene? Like he controls bees. What category is that?
I would say he's probably in the psychic category.
Is that psychic? Okay.
Because like, well, no, because like, okay, did they have Da Vinci's in season 1?
No, is that a different thing?
No, well, that's like a class of people with powers that they bring up in season 2, and the whole thing is like they're all like basically just telekinetics.
Okay, so maybe he's kind of part of that a little bit.
Yeah, so I think there is just kind of like this like gray area of like psychic or telekinetic like mind powers group.
And that's probably kind of fester a little bit with his lightning stuff.
I think lightning is more tactile than a psychic ability.
That's true. So it's a different thing. What about the no-face people? We saw them briefly in season 1. Do they come back in season 2? The people with no faces?
No. There is a cool. I can't even tell you that. Never mind.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, sorry. There's a lot of cool stuff in season 2. Check it out.
I'm probably starting it tomorrow.
Yeah. This whole thing is basically just turning into an advertisement for season 2.
Oh my gosh.
We're a few episodes in, so I know what Khalid is talking about, but. Yeah, Joe, I don't want to spoil anything.
I'm excited. I mean, this is a cool show. It's very fun. There's a lot of cool stuff in there.
But like it's not neatly done, you know what I mean? Like and I like that it's kind of messy because that's what life would be like, especially when you start talking about like people with powers like marrying other people with powers and just like the nature of how big the world is. Like I like that it's not neatly, obviously there's probably like enough sirens to qualify it as a group, but maybe there is just like one person who has a specific power that no one else does.
That's a really good point. Yeah, just like, you know, different families and like that's a really interesting point. Well said. Before we get into the monsters and stuff element of it, I did want to shout out like the casting that they did for like the Addams Family characters themselves. Like you mentioned, Luis Guzman, fantastic casting, good like spiritual successor to Raul Julia from the movies. I think both of them were fantastic. I really loved Catherine Zeta-Jones as Morticia, very inspired casting. Fred Armisen's Uncle Fester, amazing, like highlight easily, like he ruled. But like the cast him like of that core crew, even though the most of the family only showed up a little bit, like really, really well done, I thought.
My one objection, I agree with you for the most part. The casting is pretty inspired. Everybody's making choices that feel distinct from the other movie. My one thing though, my Gomez and my Morticia are horned up for each other, and
weren't horny enough
at all. Like they're kind of horny, but not really. And I know this is. And I know the argument is like this isn't that kind of show or whatever, but the original one was a straight up family movie. Like, and there's a scene, I'm not even kidding. There's one scene where they're at an auction where they donated like this, like basically like a fancy old ancient like Chinese finger trap, right? And then the announcer or the auctioneer, he's like, all right, and we're gonna start bids at $5,000. And Gomez gets so offended that he bids $20,000 on it. And then Morticia gets so horned up from watching him bid on it that she bids on it. And that in turn leads them to like outbidding each other on an item that they donated just because it turns them on to like shout the numbers. And then it cuts away, but it's implied that they like probably just had sex there. Like after paying $50,000 for a finger trap that they donated. And I'm like, that's my Gomez and Morticia.
So you hear writers of Wednesday season 3, they got to be way more horned up.
Yes. I think that I've talked about this with Malcolm in the Middle and stuff like that. Not enough TV and film parents are like seem attracted to each other. And I think that's a disservice to like the possibilities in storytelling when you go that route.
Yeah, that makes sense. Before we move into the monster element of this, I wanted to ask you guys, do you know why Wednesday is named Wednesday? What the historical like significance of that was?
No, but all the characters in the show have like old lady names. So is it an old lady name?
Not really. What about you, Lori? Do you know?
She born on that day of the week?
Possibly. I don't know if that's in it, but that's not the external reasons. It's actually a really massive hint is in the show. I didn't really clock this either, but apparently Wednesday was first given her name in reference to the nursery rhyme Monday's Child, where Wednesday's child is full of woe.
Oh, and all of the episode titles
have woe in it.
On the word woe, yeah.
Yeah, so that's why she was named. That's the rumor as to why she was named Wednesday in the original comic strip.
Huh.
Yeah. Fun fact, right?
Yeah.
Facts can be fun.
I don't know, man. You're a teacher. This feels biased.
Fair. Should we monster?
Let's do it.
Okay, so going to the behind the scenes element, the visual effects supervisor was a man by the name Tom Turnbull, who'd previously done work for the Halo TV show and Fringe. So I found a really cool article where he was interviewed and just talked all about the behind the scenes like VFX work. They talked about Nevermore a little bit, and apparently that was a practical location, Greystone Villa in the Carpathian Mountains. So that allowed them for all these exterior shots. However, they did add some like concepts, like some of the clock towers and roof stops, especially like I'm sure the window was like added in post a little bit for some of it to make it more like Gothic-y. The town itself, Jericho, was a practical set as well, almost entirely. I think there was a tiny bit of CG augmentation, but very little. But it was a town, like an entire town that was designed practically, which was pretty fun. But I thought the settings were really good. They felt really like part of the story itself too, which was good. One of the most impressive effects to me, and I don't know if you guys would agree, was Thing. I think Thing in general was just like a fantastic effect because it's mostly practical. There was played by an actor by the name of Victor Dorabanu, and it was a combination of in-camera techniques, primarily him in a blue suit, other than his hand was just the only thing that was not in a blue suit, so they could take him out in like post-production. So like he would do a lot of these like hand movements and stunts like on his own, So like I think it's just funny to think about like the scenes where like Thing is like on Wednesday's shoulder and she's like doing something or being serious, and you have to imagine that Victor is just like behind her, you know, like holding his hand there and like
suit.
just in a goofy suit. Yeah. So like, yeah, he's in a suit acting in camera. They did also use prosthetic stumps and some different kind of creative rigging, and if they had to do really complex things, there was some CGI elements. But it's a very, like, you can tell like that's mostly like there. Like I found Thing to be, like I mentioned, he's kind of the breakout star a little bit for me. My favorite part though, when he wears the little black party hat, adorable.
Yeah, that was pretty cute.
That was super cute. Yeah, Thing ruled. But the original monster for this are the Hydes, which we've talked about. We find out that Tyler, coffee shop boy, was a creature called a Hyde, which is sort of a type of outcast where it's like it's almost werewolf-esque, but it's more modeled after like the Jekyll and Hyde, where it's sort of something unlocked and they become beastly, and it seems like they can kind of become loyal to whoever sort of helps them unlock this part of themselves. Apparently Tim Burton, as a creator in here, like really cared a lot about the Hyde creatures because he considered this to be like their original take. Like this is like something they're doing completely new, not like zombies, werewolves that have been seen before. But apparently when he was telling the designers what to do for this, he referenced the artwork of somebody by the name of Big Daddy Roth, who was a monster car artist in the 60s and had a toy line called the Weirdos with wild-eyed, crazed berserker vibes to them. And so he wanted the creators to model this after them, and they kept doing it wrong. So he ended up actually sketching out an idea himself and said, make it like this. And they're like, okay, that makes sense. So they just like this wide-eyed, like crazed creature with like homicidal rage. And then the Hydes kind of came to be. They actually filmed the scenes with the Hydes with stunt people on stilts to give the actors and crew something to work with. But then they were overlaid, of course, with digital CGI after effects. There was wires, so they were like flying around. So like the werewolf and Hyde fight scene in the end was done by like stunt people on stilts, and then they kind of overlaid the visual effects on top after, which I thought was pretty cool, just to imagine those guys doing that fight scene with wires on stilts. Seems like takes skill. Yeah. So I want to ask you, what do you guys think of like the Hyde creatures, like the design is kind of like an original monster?
I liked how the Hyde had big eyes.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a scary thing to think that they could see more.
Yeah. Especially in the dark.
Yes. And you're not able to like hide.
Pun intended.
There you go. I think that someone could just morph into something at random times is also quite scary. I liked how they were loyal to somebody, so someone has to control them like a puppet in a way.
Yeah.
I just thought that was kind of a brilliant monster. I think that's why I was like, after I watched this, I was like, I have to tell Joe about this.
Yeah, I love that. How about you, Khalid?
I like it. The wide eyes, like it really evoked like a fiendishness. You know what I mean? Like a almost like desperate, like manic energy that, you know, the werewolves don't even really get. Like there's kind of like a regalness to when like Enid turns in season 1.
Yeah.
Whereas there's something just so like baseline. It feels like he's just like when he turns into the Hyde, there's like a desperate kind of hungry energy that really is communicated in the eyes. And also it reminds me of that old honeycomb mascot that terrified me as a kid. I don't know if you remember that one, Joe.
Honeycomb mascot?
Yeah, if you look him up, you'll see like he looks insane. He's got huge eyes and like he's basically just a head with like,
oh god, yes, wow.
Yeah, he's like a head with like arms and legs and then a bunch of hair and then just the biggest eyes you've ever seen. And you're just like, who wants to eat cereal after this? Who would see that and be hungry? But yeah, I like that, I guess. Like he looks fiendish, and that was like a really cool aspect of the design for me.
Yeah, that's well said. I do think like, yeah, like what you were saying, Lorrie, too, about the fact that they could just kind of turn kind of whenever. Like, yeah, like there's an element with the werewolves where you can kind of like, you almost know when to expect them, right? Like, they wolfing out in the full moon or whatever. But like, yeah, there was a different like scare element. I do feel like the big eyes was cool, but it also just felt like a uniquely, like it just felt like a Tim Burton monster, you know, like it's hard. I don't know what else to say other than the eyes, but like, it just was like, yes, that fits in a Tim Burton world, you know?
Yeah. And I think that they played it right, making it look more cartoonish than real too.
Yeah.
I think that adds to the kind of uncanny scariness of it. Obviously, like you could have gone like the Guillermo del Toro route and just made this thing like Lovecraftian horror beyond imagination, blah blah blah. But like, I think this works more in tone with like the powers and the way that they like we've seen other people's powers communicated. Everything about this world feels like it's like on the verge between cartoon and scary.
Yeah.
Which is Addams Family.
Which is Tim Burton. Tim Burton does a lot of animated.
Yeah.
True. Yeah. And it has a similar aesthetic to this a little bit too. That monster. I did see
Tim Burton.
Yeah, absolutely.
Old TB.
I mean, I've been a Tim Burton. We've been Tim Burton characters for Halloween costumes before, so maybe we'll be Wednesday in the Hyde next year.
That'd be really fun because it was Corpse Bride, right? You guys did? Yeah, that was cool. It was really intricate too, like all the designs of especially yours. Yeah, that's really good. I did hear that the same VFX guy Turnbull was involved in season 2, and so I haven't seen it yet, but it sounds like they really had to up the VFX process for the Hydes in season 2. I think there are more of them. But he mentions like in another interview that I found that they had to kind of keep the geometry of it the same, so it feels like it's the same creature, but they had to add more practical sculpting for the heads. Like, so there's actually like practical heads on set in season 2, and they had to give it a more tactile feel. So they worked to make the shading better, so like it would seem like more realistic in the light, and like muscle system design to feel like just more like textured and stuff. So it sounds like they had to do a lot of work, and I guess they're even working to up it a little bit more in season 3 too. So it's kind of interesting to hear. It sounds like from how he's describing it, the VFX guys, the monster designers are having a lot of fun with it. Like, whereas like sometimes we hear about like the Disney VFX artists are just like overworked and like stressed all the time, which is really sad. But like, so it's nice to hear that the monster stuff has like a lot of care and time put into it in a good way. Yeah,
it's there's definitely elevated in season 2. There's more Hyde stuff for sure. I like Tyler's character a lot more in season 2. Once like the mystery is out of the way in terms of who he really is, I think the actor is given a lot more interesting things to play with after that. But yeah, season 2 is they step it up.
Speaking of interesting things to play with, Khalid.
Ew.
Would you fight or flirt with Tyler the Hyde?
Well, this one's probably one of the easier ones we've had. Like, specifically, the Hyde is intrinsically tied to their master, which like it's just a longer way of saying flirt. You know what I mean? Like, you woo the monster basically. So, and it's like whether Tyler himself is open to it or not, clearly like Hydes by nature crave that, like a relationship. So yeah, man, I'm gonna flirt. Like, I'm gonna have my own little Hyde guy doing my, like, I'm not gonna murder a bunch of like monster or wizard children. That's not what I would do with my Hyde. I think I would probably, I don't know, pick up basketball games or something. You know, like I'd give him a lot more like well-rounded and like healthy life as my pet. But yeah, like it's narratively like designed to be flirted with and not necessarily fought.
All right. I like that.
Yeah.
So side story. Apparently, when I was doing research for this episode, I came across an article in Out magazine about, it was an interview with Hunter Doohan, who plays Tyler in the show. Apparently, he just got married, and Bryan Cranston officiated his wedding to his husband. So,
fun fact.
So that's so random,
right? I thought that was yeah. So.
I'll tell Luke that one. Luke's a huge fan of Bryan Cranston.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of a fun fact. I guess he's buddies with Bryan Cranston from a movie they did together or something. But yeah. I thought you were right about him a little bit, where he was kind of like, he had this one sort of character trait where he was kind of like a puppy dog love vibe, but like his moment in the prison when he or in the jail cell when he like turns on her, like how does it feel to lose? Like that moment I was like, oh, chilling. Like that was a good turn that was really only like elevated because of how like kind of like even keeled and almost a little bit bland he was at times,
Yeah, and I mean it was like bland to a point, but it's like now that he gets to stop acting like that,
Yeah.
it's like you can tell the actor's really relishing.
He's
it.
having fun.
Yeah, he's got some bite to him.
Yeah, that's cool. Do you guys have any final thoughts about Wednesday, at least season 1 or maybe even season 2 or where you're at right now before we wrap it up?
I do love that they've they've outright made Fester's whole thing now, whereas before he was just the weird uncle that lived in the house. He's like an international bank robber. I thought that was a really cool update.
Yeah. How about you, Lorrie? Any final thoughts?
No, I don't think so.
Season 3, I do hope they bring Cousin It in somehow.
Oh, they haven't brought Cousin It yet?
Not yet.
Oh,
and I don't think it's because they don't want to. I think that there's so much they want to do with all of these characters that I think that they want to give it like a little bit more due. So I hope the show runs long enough that they can incorporate it into this world. I'd be curious to see what they do.
That would be a lot of fun. I think the last thing that I just want to say, I found this review in the Daily Telegraph, I think it was, Ed Powers, the writer, and he said about this show that, quote, it's an addictively Rocco romp that unfolds like a cross between Euphoria and Hotel Transylvania. And I just love that like analogy, and it just kind of captures this sort of like tone where like we've talked about this as like homaging a lot of like YA, like magical school things, but there's just like a kind of a tone that this one strikes that I feel like Euphoria and Hotel Transylvania crossover kind of captures that in a weird way. I get it. I like that. Yeah. So anyway, our final segment of the show is our What the Fandom segment, in which we share one or two things that we are just kind of into at the moment, watching, reading, listening to, what have you. We usually have our guests go last, Lorrie, so you have a moment, but we'll start with you, Khalid. What the Fandom with you this week?
Thanks for asking, Joe. My What the Fandom this week is going to be the third Avatar film by James Cameron, Fire and Ash. I was able to go see it yesterday for my birthday in IMAX 3D. And man, like at this point, like returning to Pandora, the planet that the movie takes place on, is such a treat. It's just, I feel like I've gotten away from critiquing the films as just a straight up like, is it narratively successful or is it not? And I'm now just kind of like, oh no, I just need to go see this on the biggest screen I can and just like luxuriate in how amazing everything looks when, especially on this pod, we're always talking about like practical versus CG and the benefits of it, and like when you can see the seams, and it's just, this is seamless. You know what I mean? Like even the stuff that maybe doesn't work for like a more trained eye than me, I think there's just so much to enjoy from these movies, and the third one is like no different. I'm a big fan of the anti-colonialism messaging in it, and the world building is just so it's just done with like deftness that I, there's a world where James Cameron just keeps making amazing giant blockbuster films that like are different stories or original IP and stuff like that. But, we got this James Cameron who basically dedicated the last 2 decades of his life to telling like one story. And it's interesting to see what his priorities are and how that pays off or doesn't in some cases. I know there are some detractors, but for my money, like you could do a lot worse with the kind of budget he was given. And yeah, it's Fire and Ash is just another great installment with the other 2 Avatar movies, and I'll keep watching them for as long as Jimmy C wants to make them. Honestly, So yeah, that's my what the fandom this week. Joe, what the fandom with you?
Thanks for asking, Khalid. Jimmy C. I'm excited that it's good. I'm excited for that one. Let's see, what did I do this week? I'm gonna give a shout out to a new game. I've been gaming a little bit more lately with our Switch, which I've kind of brought listeners on that journey with a little bit. More kind of with my daughter who's been really into it. But we got a new game we recently downloaded called Monster Sanctuary, which is from Moy Rai Games. It's a smaller kind of indie game developer out of Germany, but it's kind of a really fun, like, sort of side scroller-ish game where you can kind of go, you know, up and down, but it's like side to side. But it's like a monster kind of collecting training game. It's almost Pokemon-esque, where you fight creatures on your way, and you kind of collect them and like train them, like raise them, develop them, and you kind of like unravel like the story as you're moving through it. It's a really kind of fun, feels like a throwback game, but it's also like kind of modern in some ways. There's like cool, like, I think the story is really interesting so far, of like this kind of like bloodlines who raise and train monsters and stuff. For anyone listening, like monster fans, you would probably enjoy this game. My daughter really likes it. She's been playing. She's actually further in it than I am now at this point, because she's been so into it. But it's just really cute. It's kind of a fun game. I've also been playing a lot of Breath of the Wild, which I don't think needs any recommendation, but that is also quite fun. But I did want to give a second shout out to something different. I have been reading a couple comics lately that have really kind of caught my eye. Listeners would not be surprised to know that I am a Star Trek fan. We talk about that a lot, but there is a new comic series in the Star Trek world called Star Trek: The Last Starship, written by Jackson Lansing and Colin Kelly. It takes place in this kind of like lost era, like one of the series like jumps forward 800 years, Star Trek Discovery. It takes place 100 years before that jump. So it's this era, all new characters, all new stuff. And it's exploring like it's exploring a couple plot threads from a couple series that were sort of left dangling and we know will not be addressed in other series. So it's doing that in a really unique way, while also blazing a really fresh and kind of unique trail with really fantastic art. Adrian Bonilla is the artist, and I just got to shout them out. It's really fantastic, and it feels kind of like the most interesting thing that Star Trek has been putting out this year in terms of 2025. They had the Section 31 movie and Strange New Worlds season 3, which I think a lot of people were just a slight bit disappointed with some of the output this year. But I feel like this is kind of where the series or the franchise is kind of shining in some really interesting storytelling. So there's been 2 issues that I've read so far. The third one just dropped, so I'm excited to get that. I will absolutely recommend that to anyone who's interested in kind of some cool new Trek. And I just want to give another small shout out to another comic series that I just started. My wife Nicole went to get the third Last Starship issue from the comic shop the other day, and they did not have it yet. So she ended up coming home with Star Wars Tales from the Nightlands, which is a relatively new Star Wars comic series. That's a kind of a Halloween one, but it's about kind of like this boogeyman creature that kind of comes out every 30 years. And it's like a little mini series. And I read that and had a real blast with that. From Kevin Scott is the writer of that one. But Tales from the Nightlands, kind of like a Star Wars tinged in horror, which a whole lot of fun. So video games and comics for me, which is a little out of the realm of normalcy for me, which I kind of had to mix it up today. So that's my fandom. What the fandom with you, Lorrie?
Thank you for asking. And also, I want to say that Luke and I are very proud of you for gaming more.
Woo,
I think
thanks.
It's been a huge part of Luke's life.
Yeah.
And he slowly introduced me to, I mean, I played some video games when I was younger with our siblings, but as an adult, and you can actually game, or now you can game with your kids. It's a fun, nostalgic thing to do.
It's special, yeah.
Okay, so for me, I watched Ahsoka a year ago. And she quickly became one of my favorite characters in the Star Wars universe. I immediately wanted to know everything about her. So I started down this wiki fandom page of her. And Luke, who is a huge fan of Star Wars, suggested that we watch the Clone Wars. So we've been watching that now that we are slowly getting some more time to ourselves. So I can learn more about her when she is younger. I know she's not a perfect Jedi, but there is it's been so much fun to get to know a new character that I feel like I can sort of resonate with her, and seeing her grow and choosing what is right over what is easy, which is to me one of the truest things that you can do as a Jedi. Also, she has dual lightsabers, so that's pretty cool. So I'm just excited to dive more into the episodes. I think right now we're just gonna watch episodes that Ahsoka is in, the Clone Wars. But to find something about the Star Wars universe that I enjoy, I think is exciting. So I'm excited to learn more about that, learn more about the Jedi Order and Ahsoka's story as a whole. I can't wait for season 2 of Ahsoka. And also fun fact,
Rosario Dawson.
Thank you. I had lost my train of thought. It's very late for me right now.
I get it.
And Jenna Ortega are in one of my favorite shows together. Jane the Virgin. So that sums it up for me. That's how I'm gonna end it. Yeah.
Full circle. Wow, amazing. Jane the Virgin. That's right.
I didn't know they were both even in it. I think I stopped before either of them showed up.
Jenna Ortega's in the first season. She's young Jane.
She's young.
Oh, okay.
It's been so long.
It's been so long since that's
very earlier.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. Great recommendations. I did not know you were going through the Clone Wars. That's really fun. And Ahsoka, we haven't kept up as strongly with the Star Wars shows as much lately, but Ahsoka is like the one I want to watch like next when we get back into that universe. So your recommendation has kind of like heightened that. I'm really excited to get into it for sure. But thank you, Lorrie. Thank you so much for making your podcast debut on Frankenstein's podcast. So it was an honor for us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I hope you had fun. I hope it wasn't too didn't make you too nervous or too intimidating. I think you did great.
No, you guys are great. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Aw, you're great.
Yeah.
And happy Wednesday. I don't know. I know you're not gonna I think you release on Tuesdays, but you should do it on Wednesday.
I do release on Wednesdays now. They're on
Happy
Wednesdays
Wednesday,
now.
then.
Yeah, happy Wednesday, everybody. This is actually I didn't even make that connection. That's amazing. Wow. Yeah. Thank you. Yes. Thank you, Lorrie. This was awesome. You can come back on anytime you want. Anytime you see a monster, you are welcome to join us again. So thanks.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. And thank you, listeners. I will pass off to Khalid in a second, but I just want to reiterate what I mentioned in the beginning, that we are going on a break. So you won't hear from us for a few weeks, perhaps a month or two. But feel free to maybe check your feeds. Maybe there might be a few little fun nuggets in there once in a while that I might throw in there. But for a while, new episodes will be on hiatus.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. And thank you, Lorrie. You were such a great guest. Thank you for suggesting the show. It was really fun to dive back in and finally catch up on season 2. And thank you, everybody at home or wherever you're listening. Really appreciate our audience. You guys always have such nice things to say to us, too. And yeah, just as a programming reminder, we do actually have a Patreon where you can also join and be a patron. We have a $1, we have a $1, $3, $5, $7. Sorry, your fingers are cut off. $1, $3, $7 tier. So whatever you could contribute, that would be really great. All the money goes back into the show itself, whether that's getting new equipment or paying subscription fees, all that fun stuff. And then we have Frankenbits on there as well. So you get a little bit of extra content if you'd like that. But yeah, with that said, thank you all and creep it easy.